How to declutter like a boss. Welcome to this video compilation of our 3 most popular decluttering videos from last year. So, if you're interested in decluttering your space, decluttering your paper, and making money from your clutter, then keep watching. Do you feel like your home is cluttered and you don't know where to start? Keep watching, because in this video we're going to explore how you can have a more organised and stress-free life. Hey, it's Nikki from the Top 3, and if you're anything like me, you've probably collected a lot of stuff over the years. Clothes, books, movies on various media, kids' toys, pots, pans, kitchen gadgets, pictures, craft stuff, and drawers and tubs full of miscellaneous items. And like me, you may find that organisation and decluttering is not a natural skill, and you probably feel overwhelmed and not quite sure where to start. When your immediate space is cluttered, your mind is cluttered and it's stressful. But worry not. In this video, we're going to explore how to declutter our spaces in 3 simple steps so that we can all achieve some peace of mind. Number 1, start small. We're not going to go rushing into anything. We're going to take small steps and we're going to take them one at a time. It can be all too easy to dive in with no real planning, pull out the contents of all of your cupboards and then find yourself neck deep in stuff, tired out and with dwindling motivation. I know this, I've been there. So let's make a plan that's manageable and gives us little wins on a regular basis. Sometimes the first thing we need to do is actually define what clutter is in our world, because it's not going to be the same for everybody. For me, I'm not so good at throwing things away, as I often think that I can fix them. A bit of glue, a replacement widget from somewhere that I haven't even got around to researching yet, and before I know it, countertops and drawers are full of I'll get round to it items. But the point that I've certainly been missing is if I haven't gotten around to it yet, then I probably won't, because all my coming days are just as busy as the days that have passed when I didn't get around to it. So, I'm going to get a rubbish bag and I'm going to put all of those items into it. Further items of clutter could be things that aren't being used and haven't been used for some time. I suggest getting a box and over the course of a week putting items into it to donate, and when it's full, taking it straight to the charity shop or Goodwill. Number 2, define your rule. Find a deciding rule or method that works for you. Let's take a look at a few. You may have heard of Marie Kondo. She's a Japanese organising consultant, author and TV presenter, and she suggests that you keep only those things that speak to the heart and discard items that no longer spark joy. I particularly like her quote, "We should be choosing what we keep, not what we get rid of." She's written many books, including The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying, and she's presented 2 series on Netflix. I'll leave links in the description if you're interested. The next rule or method comes from The Gentle Art of Swedish Death Cleaning by Margareta Magnusson. She approaches decluttering by suggesting that you get rid of all of the stuff you've accumulated that you don't need anymore so that no one else has to do it for you after you pass. If you're interested in finding out more, I already made a video about the top 3 principles of Swedish death cleaning, and I'll link to it in the top right corner. Gabe Built has a fab channel on YouTube, and he's got a really good method called the 90% rule. He suggests that you look at any item and then rate it from 1 to 100. If the item's not above 90, then put it straight into the donate box. This way, anytime you pick up anything in your space, it's going to be one of your favourites. So when you pick up an item that you're not sure about, what method is going to help you decide? I really like all 3 methods, but if I'm struggling to let something go, asking myself if I want it to be a burden on my loved ones in the future usually enables me to reach a decision. And finally, at number 3, declutter for life. Decluttering should not really be considered as just a one-off activity. If you're serious about simplifying your life and decluttering your mind, then making decluttering a habit is probably the best way to go. Did you know that according to a study in the journal Neuroscience, new habits develop in as few as 50 repetitions, so if you start today, you'll be making good strides towards a behaviour change for the future. Most of us will probably approach decluttering on a larger scale in the first instance, but once you get to a place where you're happy, then it would be such a shame to have to do it all again in a few years. A good way to avoid this is to set aside a declutter time each month. Go through your space with the donate box and pop in any item that is cluttering your space and cluttering your mind. Even better would be to train yourself out of the habit of keeping things in the first place for all of those reasons that seem so important at the time. So to conclude, number 1, start small. Number 2, define your rule or method. And number 3, embrace decluttering as a lifelong habit. Just as a quick recap, I mentioned Marie Kondo, Margareta Magnusson and Gabe Built. I'll put some information about all 3 of them in the description below in case you're interested in exploring their ideas further. I'll also link to my previous video about Swedish death cleaning. Are piles of paper taking over your home, causing you stress and ruining your minimal aesthetic? It can be overwhelming to see stacks of mail, bills and other documents piling up on our desks, kitchen counters and other surfaces. But don't worry, because in this video I'll be sharing 3 simple and effective ways to reduce paper clutter and achieve a more minimal and organised home. So grab a pen and paper and let's get started. Tip number 1, minimise what comes in the first place. By minimising the amount of paperwork that enters your home in the first instance, you can effectively reduce paper clutter before it has the opportunity to accumulate. You can do this by registering to opt out of junk mail by using the mailing preference service. You could put a sign on your front door or mailbox discouraging junk mail. You could opt to go paperless with your bills by choosing electronic billing options offered by your providers. Some may even offer discounts as an added benefit. You could choose to use email as a form of communication instead of postal mail. And you could also opt out of postal mail communication when signing up for mailing lists with companies. Tip number 2, learn what you need to keep and how long you need to keep it for. So how long do you need to keep paperwork at home? Remember that this can be country specific, so you may need to do a little bit of your own research, but let's start with utility bills. Assuming that you're still receiving paper bills, then keeping them for a maximum of 1 year is a good rule of thumb. These can help you deal with any problems and also use them as a comparison when looking for new deals. When it comes to bank statements, keep those for 1 year. That will enable you to review any purchases or correct any errors. With receipts, you should retain them until the return policy expires, which is usually around 30 days, and also to make sure that you're satisfied with the purchase. Keep them longer if the item is high priced with warranty. And when we're talking about big ticket items like your home or your car, then keep all of the related paperwork for as long as you own the item. When considering certifications and policies, it's a good idea to keep them until a new one replaces the previous one. And finally, tip number 3, sort it, file it, shred it. So try to sort it as soon as it comes into the house. If you do get into a habit of sorting through any paperwork that does come into your home as soon as it arrives, then you'll really start to see a reduction in your paper clutter. This way, you can quickly and efficiently dispose of any unwanted or unnecessary items before they have a chance to build up, and then you can file the important stuff. Try not to let your unnecessary pile grow too big. It may get mixed back into your sorted pile. I know this, it's happened to me. A shredder can be a great tool here. You can get hand crank shredders and small electric home shredders. I'll leave some links in the description. So let's talk about filing. Establish a filing system that works for you. Have a designated place for all of your important documents. You can either use a physical filing cabinet or system of file boxes, or you could go digital with a scanning app. By opting for a simple and minimal filing system, you'll be able to keep your important documents organised and easily accessible, and you'll be able to keep your space less cluttered. The key is to have a system that not only works for you, but is also easy to maintain. If there are multiple people in your household, you could designate an in-tray or pigeonhole for each person to help keep paperwork organised. I'll put some more links to organisers in the description. If a bill arrives that needs to be paid, have a specific tray or file for that and set a reminder on your phone. You may be someone who sets out a certain time each week to do home admin, or hadmin as I like to call it. It's a fantastic habit to have. You could also put an annual appointment in your calendar to go through your files and get rid of out-of-date paperwork and stuff that you no longer need to keep. I like to include it as part of my spring cleaning schedule. By following these 3 tips, you can quickly and easily reduce paper clutter in your home and office. It only takes a little bit of effort every day to help you maintain a clutter-free and organised environment, giving you more time and peace of mind. Do you ever find it hard to part with items because of the time or money you invested in them? If yes, then keep watching, as we're going to explore different ways that you could make money from your clutter. You are not alone in this. Many people are loss averse and suffer from something called the sunk cost fallacy, which makes it incredibly difficult to part with items even if they no longer add value to your life. Loss aversion is a cognitive bias that refers to the tendency for people to strongly prefer avoiding losses over acquiring gains. The sunk cost fallacy is a tendency for people to continue investing in a decision or action because they've already invested so much time or money, even if it no longer makes any sense to do so. These concepts can be related to clutter and even hoarding, which may be driven by an excessive fear of loss, a sense of attachment to possessions, and a need to try to preserve the money originally invested. So let's look at 3 ways that you can turn your clutter into cash. So first on the list for making money from decluttering is online marketplaces. You can sell items that you no longer need on online marketplaces, and you'll be surprised at what you can sell and what people will buy. Some of the most popular are eBay, an online auction and shopping site, Facebook Marketplace, where you can sell used items easily, locally and further afield, and Amazon. We all know that as the world's largest online retailer. Here are some tips for selling online. Research the platforms to find out which ones are most suitable for your items. Look at similar items to get an idea on the market price and then price yours accordingly. Get good photos of your item from multiple angles, be honest about wear and tear, and give as much additional detail as you can. If you don't want to do it yourself, you can even employ an eBay reseller. I've put a link to this guy, Amuah, down in the description in case you want to know a bit more about eBay resellers. Other general marketplaces include Sphock, Preloved and Gumtree. And then there are more niche marketplaces like Vinted for clothes and Ziffit and music magpie, known as Declutter in the States, for books, CDs, DVDs and games. I'll leave links to these marketplaces in the description. At number 2, we have offline or real-world marketplaces. You may feel that some items are more suitable to sell at a yard or garage sale in the US or a car boot sale in the UK. These can be quite time intensive, but a lot of fun if you enjoy that sort of thing. School fairs and community tabletop sales are also good outlets to sell your no longer needed items. You will often find that you need to pay a small fee to host a table, but this usually goes to a good fundraising cause. Alternative outlets could be a clothes by the kilo service. They will often pick up as well, but the rates will be lower. And then finally, there are vintage stores. I have to say that having the clothes I wore in my teens now classed as vintage bothers me a lot. Apparently, a garment only has to be 20 years old to be classed as vintage. Anybody else feeling old? And at number 3, upcycling. Upcycling your clutter can be a good way to earn some extra cash. Upcycling is a process of taking something that is no longer useful or wanted and repurposing it into something of greater value or usefulness. For example, you could take an old piece of furniture, sand and refinish it to give it a new look. If you have the time and the inclination, this can actually become a lucrative hobby or side hustle. So if you have a creative flair, this can be a great way to earn some extra cash by turning your clutter into something that people are willing to buy, and it also helps to reduce waste and promote sustainability, which is great for the planet. You can also sell your upcycle creations online through platforms like Etsy or at local markets or craft fairs. Making money from decluttering will largely depend on the items you have, the condition they're in, and the market demand. But with such a variety of selling options, I'm sure you will find the right method for your items. So let's do a quick recap at the 20 selling options that we've identified to turn your clutter into cash. So we have eBay, Facebook Marketplace, Amazon, Sphock, Vinted, Gumtree, Ziffit, Music Magpie, Declutter in the States, garage sales, yard sales, car boot sales, tabletop sales, school fairs, clothes by the kilo, vintage stores, upcycle, Etsy and craft fairs. And that's it for today. So as always, thank you so much for watching. If you have found value in this content, then please consider clicking the like button, sharing with someone else who would enjoy this video, leaving a comment and subscribing to the channel for more interesting top threes in the future. Oh, just one last thing that I wanted to share with you. The other day, my friend told me that she was going to sell a child on eBay. I said, "Are you crazy? You made him. Surely Etsy is more appropriate." Thank you very much. Have a great day, everyone.